Hello everybody, Chris Clutch here with Coins with Clutch. And I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. Some of you have followed me on TikTok before when I go through coins and talk about coin collecting and numismatics. I want to welcome you to my YouTube channel. The next few videos that I post on YouTube will be informational, just on different denominations of coins. And hopefully for those beginning coin collection, just getting started, or even some of the old timers out there who've been doing this a long time. Hopefully you'll find these videos interesting, helpful. If I miss anything, always let me know. I'm always open to feedback and to help make this better. Okay, so the first coin that we're going to go into is the penny. A lot of people take pennies for granted. I mean, they're only worth 1 cent face value. But there are pennies out there that are worth thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you need to know what to look for. So in the next segments of the video, I'm going to cover flying eagle cents. I'm going to cover Indian head cents, the Lincoln wheat penny, the memorial penny, which is the most common penny, and then the 2009 penny, which is pretty unique. And then finally, the Lincoln Shield penny, which is the current penny that's in circulation right now. So sit back, enjoy, take some notes, and thank you again for subscribing. The nation's large copper cents became increasingly expensive to produce, leading the U.S. Mint to experiment with smaller versions during the 1850s. Finally, a new design and format were chosen, the Flying Eagle cent, of smaller diameter and 4.67 grams weight. Many patterns were made of this design in 1856, and later restrikes were extensive, with the result that many collectors collected the 1856 cent along with the regular series. Distribution of the new 1857 Flying Eagle cents for circulation commenced on May 25th of that year. Problems resulted from striking the design properly, and the motif was discontinued in 1858. Although attempts were made to create a modified, thinner eagle, the unattractive results were scrapped in favor of an entirely new design. The coins remained in circulation until the early 1900s, by which time any found in pocket change were well worn. Many varieties are known for 1857 and 1858. In particular, 1858 is found with two major variations. In the large letter design, the A and the M in America are joined, while in the small letter design they are separated. Minor variations of the reverse design of corn, wheat, cotton, and tobacco also appeared. The Indian head cent was minted from 1859 to 1909. After nearly a dozen varieties of patterns were made in 1858, in 1859 the Indian head was adopted as the new motif for the cent. Observers of the time noted the incongruity of placing a Native American war bonnet on a bust, which was meant to be both female and classically Greek. Designer James B. Longacre's earlier use of a feathered tiara on an Indian head $3 gold piece had been viewed as less strange. The reverse of the 1859 coin illustrates an olive or laurel wreath. In 1860, this was changed to a wreath of oak and other leaves with a shield at the apex. A design continued through the end of the series in 1909. From 1859 through the spring of 1864, cents were struck in copper nickel, the alloy used earlier for Flying Eagle cents. In 1864, a new bronze alloy was developed and adopted. Indian head cents remained in circulation through the 1940s, but by the early 1950s were rarely seen. In the 1930s, when Whitman and other coin boards and folders became widely available, collectors picked many key dates out of circulation. The typical grade of the scarce issues of the 1870s was good or so, and the 1908S and the 1909S could be found in very fine condition. The mint mark S for San Francisco, no mint mark for Philadelphia, is located just below the wreath on the reverse. As seen, many of the early years are hard to find and in low mintage, especially 1869 through 1872, and again in 1877. Which only 852,500 were minted. Then again at 1908S and 1909S. are low mintage coins. 1909 S only minted 309,000 because the Lincoln wheat cent was also created in 1909. The Lincoln wheat years reverse, otherwise known as the wheat penny, was introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the birth of Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to portray an actual person and the first cent to bear the motto, "In God We Trust." Sculptor and engraver Victor David Brenner had been chosen to design the new cent because the artistry of chief engraver Charles Barber was under heavy criticism at the time. The new cent was released on August 2nd, 1909, and the earliest coins of the year issue had Brenner's initials, VDB, on the reverse. The public objected to the size of the designer's initials, which were placed on the bottom of the reverse. The initials were removed shortly after the first of the 1909 cents was released. Thus, two 1909 cent varieties, with and without initials, were produced at both the San Francisco and Philadelphia mints. Brenner's initials were left off the cent from 1910 to 1917. In 1918, the initials were restored, but this time in smaller form and located on the obverse, below Lincoln's shoulders. From 1909 to 1942, the coins were struck in bronze. In 1943, during World War II, zinc-coated steel was used for their planchets as a way to reserve copper for the war effort. The bronze alloy would be resumed in 1944. Although no bronze cents were officially issued in 1943, a few pieces struck on bronze or silver planchets are known to exist for that year. Bronze examples have recently sold for more than $200,000 at auction. Such errors presumably occur when an older planchet is mixed with the normal supply of planchets and goes through the minting process. Through a similar production error, a few 1944 cents were struck on steel planchets. Beware that many regular steel cents of 1943 that were later plated with copper, either as novelties or to deceive collectors, a magnet will reveal their true nature. In 1944, 1945, and 1946, the mint used salvaged gun cartridge cases as its source metal for coining cents. In mint state, the color of cents of these years can appear slightly different from other bronze wheat year cents. Lincoln cent varieties include the 1909 S, S over horizontal S, 1922 weak D, and 1936 double die obverse. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all produce Lincoln wheat year cents, but not in all years. The mint mark, S for San Francisco, D for Denver, no mint mark for Philadelphia, is located just below the date. Key dates include 1909 S VDB, 1909 S, 1911 S, 1912 S, 1914 D, and 1931 S. These are all ones that I'm currently missing right now. But as you can see, I've got pretty much a lot of the teens, I've got all the 20s, I've got most of the 30s except for the 31S, I've got all the 40s, and I've got all the 50s. So, again, if you ever find a 1943 copper penny, that is worth a lot of money. If you find a 1944 steel penny, and it's verified steel, that's worth a lot of money. The Lincoln Memorial Reverse Cent was minted from 1958 to 2008. This new cent design, made by Frank Gasparow, was introduced to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Victor Brenner's portrait of Lincoln remained on the obverse. The new reverse featured a view of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with Daniel Chester French's massive statue of the president faintly visible within. In 1969, the dies were modified to strengthen the design, and Lincoln's head on the obverse was made slightly smaller. In 1973, the dies were further modified, enlarging the engraver's initials FG. In 1974, the initials were reduced slightly. In 1982, the bust lettering and dates were made slightly smaller, Also in 1982, the composition of the cent, 95% copper and 5% zinc, were changed. The new composition was a thin layer of copper coating a core of 99.2% zinc and 0.8% copper. The new copper plating coin weighs about 20% less than the previous cent. As far as weights, previous pennies, especially the Lincoln wheat pennies, weighed 3.11 grams, and the steel penny weighed 2.7 grams. Up until 1982, the memorial pennies weighed 3.11 grams, but after 1982, the pennies dropped significantly and weighed 2.5 grams. As you can see, in 1982, there were several varieties of pennies minted. There was the 1982 copper large date, 1982 copper small date, 1982 zinc large date, 1982 zinc small date, the 1982 D copper large date, the 1982 D zinc large date, and the 1982 D zinc small date. You would have to look for the 1982 D small date copper in an MS66 state. That would be worth close to $18,000. In 2009, commemorating the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the U.S. Mint produced cents with the familiar Lincoln obverse, but 4 different reverse designs, reflecting stages of Lincoln's life. Here you can see them: birth and early childhood in Kentucky, formative years in Indiana, professional life in Illinois, and presidency in Washington. In 2010, the Lincoln Cents new reverse was unveiled, a Union shield. The design is emblematic of President Lincoln's preservation of the United States of America as a single and united country. The shield motif was designed by Lyndall Bass and Joseph Mena, and as you can see on the reverse, their initials are both on the below the shield, LB and JFM. It was unveiled during the launch ceremony for the 4th and final 2009 bicentennial cent, held at the Ulysses S. Grant Memorial at the Capitol Building in Washington, D.C., November 12, 2009. In addition to a new reverse design, the shield reverse cent featured a modern update of Victor David Brenner's original portrait for the 1909 Lincoln cent. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints all produced Lincoln cents, but not in all years. The mint marked S for San Francisco, D for Denver, no mint mark for Philadelphia, is located just below the date. For the 225th anniversary of U.S. coinage, Philadelphia struck coins in 2017 received a P mint mark. In 2019, the West Point Mint struck special proof and uncirculated strikes of the Lincoln cent, available only in mint cents. Well, folks, I hope you guys enjoyed the video on pennies. Just some things to remember: the earlier the penny you find, the more valuable it is, obviously. Lots of pennies out there: 1857 and 1858 Flying Eagles. Indian head cents go all the way up to 1909. The wheat pennies start at 1909 and go all the way to 1958. Remember your 1909 VDB S mints and your 1909 S mints regular. Those are worth a lot of money, so those are definitely keepers. Remember the key dates: 1911 S, the S series in all your teen years up to 1915. Your 1931 Denver mint is very rare and valuable if you find. Continuing on, your Lincoln Memorial cents. Remember the 1982 large and small dates. If you find a Denver mint 1982 with a copper that's weighed copper 3.11 grams, that could be worth a lot of money. Remember your 2009 pennies, 4 different variants on the reverse, and then your shield pennies are your most recent ones. Stay tuned. I'm going to do another segment called Loose Change. I'll actually go through a couple rolls of pennies and show you what exactly I look for. There's some other errors and some other things I look for in pennies. That's pretty informative. Stay tuned for other videos. I'll be doing nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins as well. So again, I'm Chris Clutch. Thank you for joining Coins with Clutch YouTube channel, and you guys have a blessed day.